So I'm working through this energy. Everything happens here on the material plane is kind of a mirror to the metaphysical plane. As you're healing the conscious level, you're healing, if you're aware, the subconscious and the collective level. So one of the things I was working on is detaching the umbilical cord between the mother and the son. The mother was holding on to the son for fear of losing him. I don't know. There's a lot of emotions there. But the thing is by holding on to him, it was a manipulation tactic because it actually stifled the masculine energy from maturing and growing into a full masculine. It actually made him more childish, more childlike, more temper tantrum, more mommy, more dependent victim. And then he got trapped in the victim loop, which is playing the victim, but you're really not the victim, you're the perpetrator. It's a really sick, twisted, demented loop. It's one of the things I realize is they create the problems and then turn around and create the solutions and trap people in the victim and then create the solutions for those victims. So it's a power grab. It was a power grab for the feminine, unfortunately. Willing to admit that, because if you can't admit your own faults as the feminine, and it's a feminine masculine ladder, there is no feminine masculine energy that does this, because all that does is create confusion. Because are you masculine or are you feminine? Which one are you? Are you both? Okay, well, then what? So at this point, it's a masculine ladder and a feminine ladder. I'm a divine feminine, which means I'm a clear feminine. I don't need or have any masculine energy within me because I don't need or want that energy. I want to be pure feminine, and I want masculine to be pure masculine. So it was important that I cut the umbilical cord between the feminine mother and the son. And then I realized that because I actually had to leave my son for the weekend. I have to travel to do some work before we leave the state. And it's I couldn't take him with me. And actually, he didn't want to come, which was fine, because this is giving him the opportunity to take pride in being alone and look, I'm fine, I can do it, right? Kind of man up a little bit. He doesn't need his mommy to do everything for him. He is self-sufficient. He can do things. We laid down the ground rules. This is what you need to do. And then I have to turn it over to him, and I have to trust in him that everything is going to be okay, that he is going to be okay. And then I had to remove that fear energy, and it was intense for me this morning leaving him. And I almost didn't go, and I almost brought him with me, but then I was like, no, where is this energy coming from? What is it? I did a little assessment, like, what is this lesson here, and what am I going to do about it? And then that's when all of this has come to fruition on the physical plane with my own son. And cutting that umbilical cord and allowing him to step into his manhood and be himself and be by himself and prove to himself, not to me, prove to himself that he can be a man, he can do it. And that's the same for the masculine energy. Because a lot of the masculines I've dealt with were very childish, very immature, emotionally immature. And I actually saw several of them actually throw temper tantrums, especially when I disconnected my energy from them. When I would, focus on other things or need to heal or whatever, they would freak out. They throw temper tantrums, they run, they act immaturely, they weren't able to communicate. So it was very important to learn this and to sever that bond on a big level, right? On a spiritual level, between the divine mother and the son, because the son needs to grow up. He needs to go out into the world, and he needs to be a man and detach from the mother and the feminines, and depending on them to solve all of his problems, because he'll never be a man. He'll always be a weak child, and that's not what is required of him. The feminine needs to grow the fuck up and take responsibility, and the masculine needs to grow the fuck up and take responsibility. So that's one of the things that I did and I'm doing right now, is releasing the masculine from the feminine entanglements that they have, that are actually keeping them and stifling them from their growth, from their manhood. And women need to be very careful about this. You need to look at yourself, and I'm guilty of this myself, of entrapping these men. You don't even realize you're doing it consciously. You're doing it unconsciously, and trapping them with your victim energy. And then by doing that, you're actually demasculating them. So it's a vicious victim trap. So please, please, please. One of the hardest things about healing is healing yourself and taking responsibility for your own part in every situation. Because if you try to play the victim, especially if you're working with me, I am going to turn that right back around on you and say, you need to take a look at yourself, because you are not a victim. You are part of the problem. I'm not saying that you're the only part of the problem, but it takes two. Okay? So you need to recognize your own part in this, and you need to take responsibility. So, yeah, so this is a pretty intense, all the energy I work through is pretty intense, but this is a pretty interesting one for sure. So, a lot of healing, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of letting go, a lot of love. Yeah, a lot of love. A lot of love, and just, you know what? It's just time to move on for everybody. It's time to move on. It's time to start over. So here we go.